Hi, how's it going, guys? My name is Omar Prieto, here with Zach Johnston, head coach for Concordia University on Arbor. Thank you for having us, coach. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Omar. It's awesome to be here, especially with a former player of mine. I'm very thrilled to be able to take this opportunity and speak with you and answer a few questions for you.
Thank you, thank you. It's actually pretty fun to actually talk like this. I never thought I was gonna talk to you like this through a camera, even though we used to call me to the office a lot. So we I feel pretty confident with this. I got a few questions that I want to ask you. First, why do you choose to pursue a career in sports?
Well, that is a great question, and I don't know if I have a specific time frame or specific answer. And I apologize, my daughter's in the room, so you're going to hear her a little bit, my youngest. Um, so why I decided to pursue a career in sports, I think really just because sports have been a part of my life. It's always been something that I've thoroughly enjoyed, whether it was baseball or any other sports. And I think I just couldn't see myself doing anything else. And sports, there's so many benefits and things that we get from being athletes. Skill sets that make us better in life and help us um, just develop as who we are as people. Drive, determination, work ethic, and I think I couldn't see myself doing anything but being in sports. So I think that's why I pursued a career in sports.
It's been how many years?
Oh, in total, well, if you count when I guess yeah, in total in sports, not just I've been the head coach here going on 11 years at the helm of the baseball program. I coached collegiate softball for 3 years. Prior to that, I was in working in the sports information department during while I was coaching collegiate softball, but also prior to that too. I think that was for a year or two. And then I worked for the Bluefield Orioles, which is the minor league club of the Baltimore
Okay.
Orioles at the time, their rookie league club. And then I worked for the Baltimore Orioles for a year as well. So we're talking 16, 17 years probably in sports.
Okay.
Yeah.
Plenty years, plenty experience. Who
Yep.
was your main role model and why?
Oh, another great question. I don't think I could pick one. I think for a lot of individuals out there, you talk about your father, you talk about your grandfather, and both my father, a lot of my players, yourself included, call him senior. He would be one of my role models. You know, just was kind of the push to in all for me to be in all sports. In high school, I wrestled, played basketball, soccer, and baseball. And he coached me from a young age in multiple sports, not just baseball, but baseball specifically. And yeah, I would say was a huge role model in my life, as most fathers I think are for most young men. My grandfather coached for the Orioles organization for 43 years, and he held a number of different roles, all the way from minor league manager to minor league camp coordinator, area scout. So he held a number of different roles throughout that organization, and he actually got inducted in the Orioles Hall of Fame back in 2010. But he would be another big role model, I'd have to say. As you get further in your career, you start looking up to specific coaches or individuals that you think like Bo Schembechler, like the Phil Jacksons, the historically great coaches out there, and you start reading their novels or their books and so forth. But at the end of the day, the two close role models that have a major impact on me would be the men in my life. My grandfathers, my father, and so forth. So.
Were they pushing for you to be a head coach at some point in your life, or they weren't pushing you to do anything besides just playing the game?
No, that's a great question. I don't think I ever felt pushed to be a coach by any of those fathers or any of the men in my life. I think I watched my dad's profession wasn't a coach. He was actually an athletic director in a prison system. Um, my grandfather obviously was a manager, but he also held different roles in that organization. Um, so no, and I can't even say when I was in your shoes, well, in your shoes back when you played for me. So myself as a player, I can't even say I was thinking about being a coach. Um, I knew I loved sports. I knew I loved baseball, and um, I think when it really kind of set in, and this I might answer a future question of yours, but when I was working for the Orioles, I was more behind the scenes. I wasn't on the field. I was working in the public relations and community relations departments, and I was in baseball, but I wasn't in baseball like the way I wanted to be. And I don't think I realized it until I was there. And I think that kind of changed my mindset on what I wanted to do. So yeah, I think that's kind of when the, things change for me.
Once you got back in the field as the assistant coach in the softball, um, you got back in the field, you started doing what you do, which is being, a leader, and we all appreciate that. Um, what motivated you to actually start thinking about probably if there is a open position as the head coach in Concordia, I'll take it.
Another fabulous question. I don't think I was until it happened. So my playing days, my head coach was um changed careers, we'll say, after my senior year. So they had a new head coach come in. Um, and I worked for Baltimore, I worked for Bluefield. Then I came back and was working for Concordia as sports information director and assistant, eventually associate softball coach. And at the time, I think I just wanted to be in sports. I was a sports information director, so I was in sports. But I started to get that niche for coaching and being in softball. And softball, same sport, different gender. And I don't think I was thinking about baseball really at all until the job opened up. And the job opened up kind of out of on a whim late one summer, 2014. The coach kind of just up and left, and I went through the interview process, and thankfully the administration at the time believed in my vision, and the rest I guess is history. But yeah, I can't say I was definitely craving or thinking about baseball. Maybe in the back of my mind, like, oh, that'd be cool, but I don't know if I was even certain that like when that could happen, or I was just kind of status quo of being where my feet are. And in all honesty, that's kind of always been my forte. I'm not really a great, 5-year planner type of deal. I'm a win now. I'm right here right now. This is where my feet are. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna win now. And I was focused on the softball team at the time. So
Going up that answer, what are the key qualities for a successful head coach in college?
well, um, that's a good question. I'm going to list a few for you. I think you got to have leadership skill. You got to be a leader. You got to have leadership skill sets, and a lot of these qualities I probably will could kind of fall in under the leadership category, if you will. But I'm gonna list off a few things. So I would say leadership. I would say communication skills. You got to be able to communicate efficiently and effectively. Um, you got to have knowledge and expertise in whatever you're coaching or whatever you're doing. Now I'm going to say these aren't listed in any order. Like knowledge and expertise wouldn't be like the second thing you need to have. This is no in particular order. I would say adaptability. You got to be able to adapt. You can't be stuck in your ways. It's ever changing. The game's ever changing. The players are ever changing. You got to be able to adapt. I would say you need recruiting skills. You got to be able to recruit. And a lot of people say, um, you're a salesman. I don't believe that. You're not a salesman. You're a truth teller. You tell the truth. You tell them what your program's about, what you're about, how you're going to operate, and that's it. You're a truth teller. But you got to be able to recruit. You got to have a form of emotional intelligence. all these players and the people that are under you come from different backgrounds, different forms of life. You know, they were raised differently and so forth. You got to have emotional intelligence. There's some guys, such as yourself, I could be a little more harder on, and the guy next to you, I might have to a little more of a comforting. You know, you're not going to get that person isn't going to be motivated that way. I mean, I could light a fire up under you, and that would fire you up, and you would
Mhm.
internalize that, and I'd bring out the best of you that way. But you got to have some emotional intelligence. Um, Time management, you gotta be, and that's one that's again with adaptability. It's ever changing. You got to be able to adjust. But time management, I think, is very important. I think integrity and accountability are huge. Um, Passion and commitment are a must. You got to be passionate. You got to have the integrity. You got to be committed to your guys. You want them committed to your program. You got to be committed. Um, and I think the last one would be vision. You got to have a vision because the guys need to know your team no matter what in sports and in any business. You got to have a vision, and this is where we're going, this is where we're heading, because you need everybody on the same bus moving in the same direction. We can't be going opposite way. Like they need to see what the vision is. And no, I'm not saying the vision has to be a 10-year, 5-year plan. I think it's different for certain avenues of business. But the vision, it needs to be clear, and that goes back to communication. So they kind of go all hand in hand under in what I would call a good leadership skill set. But those would be the ones I can think of are right offhand.
Those are great. Those are great. And actually, those qualities are the ones that I got the most out of you. Having you as my head coach for 3 years, it was you showcased them pretty well, and you live by
I
example.
appreciate
And
that.
that was one of the things that they were on our backs in one of the t-shirts, and literally it was something that we all embraced. Going a little backtrack into the getting the head coach position. Um, what were your expectations going in to the head coach position at Concordia, if any?
Yeah, no, well, the team when I inherited the team, they had been struggling record wise. Um, I knew when I inherited a group of individuals, whether it be male, female, mixture, you have to that you have to earn their trust. And that is key. If you're gonna implement this new vision, you're taking over this program. They signed up for something else, right? They had a different leader at one point. So you have to earn their trust and have them believe in this vision as well. But the only way to do that is gain their trust. So my expectations, I think, were they had been struggling. They clearly they need a new leader to come in and do well for them and as you said, be an example of all these things that I feel are very important for a program to be successful. And I think that those were my expectations. I need to exemplify what I'm looking for out of them. They need to see that out of me, and I need to gain their trust.
Awesome,
So,
awesome. And that's to me, as soon as I got into the program, um, that's what I saw from the freshman class that went in that you recruited. That
yep.
eventually, when they were a senior, they were already so bought into the program and the philosophy that they weren't bothered for anything that you'll change or throw at them because they were actually able to adapt and embrace it real quick. That's something that I didn't see for from the first class, the first senior class that you actually had when I was coming in, and it is a huge change in the program and in the way you think you go about things and you went about things over the years. So props to you on that.
I appreciate
Um,
that. And yeah, I agree. I think that that was vital to be where we're at today. And now, a lot of people, want to, I guess, give me props and credit on how we're doing now. And I'm like, to be honest, yeah, perhaps back in the day, I needed to be a little more hands-on, but now it's the alumni. The alumni deserve the pro or the credit because they believed in it and they implemented it and executed it. And now this is just how we operate. This is where the bus is going, and you have to be on it. And so you guys deserve the credit. I might have showed you the way, but now you're the ones that drove there and continue to keep the bus moving in that direction. So
We're all proud of that, and we're all proud of our coach and coaches that made that happen for us. Because definitely, without you being on us, even if it was snowing out or if it was cold, I remember you telling us, if it's cold out there, that's when I want to play. Why? Because everybody else don't want to play.
yep,
And I remember you benching me because it was snowing out, and you told me, Omar, you seem like you don't want to play. I didn't say it, but in my internal thoughts, they were like, "Yeah, I don't want to play out there. It's snowing out."
yeah, yeah,
But the good thing about it was, since I knew my role, I knew that even if I wasn't playing, I had to be there for everybody else.
yeah.
So
And you did a good job of that. And you became just from that one time, your mental toughness grew exponentially because of that. I think it like we all have moments in our lives where something, it doesn't have to be big, but something clicks. And I think that was a moment for you. Like I saw your game go, it just take that leap and not even just a step, a leap after that, man. Like, wow. Yeah. I mean, nobody else wants to. Like that's what separates the good from the great. The ones that want to be there when everybody else doesn't. It's the work you put in that when no one's watching type of deal.
true. And ever since, my average went higher
Yeah.
when we play in colder days.
Yeah.
I
Your
remember
mental
that.
toughness.
Yeah, I wanted to be there. I knew what I was looking for. I wasn't missing anything because I was prepared, and that was
Yep.
the whole point of it. Um, let's go back into the questions. So when you're thinking about hiring an assistant coach or coaches, what you actually look for?
I would say the same stuff I already mentioned in what I would describe as a leadership skill set. Somebody that communicates well, somebody that is adaptable, has passion and commitment. I think I might start putting them in a little bit of an order when I'm looking for an assistant coach because like knowledge and expertise, you can gain knowledge, you can gain expertise, but passion and commitment you can't really fake it. Like you either have it or you don't. So I think there is a little bit of a more of an order, but it would be the same list, communication skills, knowledge and expertise, adaptability, time management, emotional intelligence, passion and commitment. It has its own vision, but the vision needs to align with our vision. And recruiting skills. You got to have passion and commitment to sell or recruit the same individuals you want to be a part of your culture. So I would say it's the exact same stuff I listed.
Got you. And when you're recruiting new players or upcoming classes, um, do you go off the data or you go off videos or you mix them both? What you do with it? Like how you go about things?
No, phenomenal question. It is different in all situations. Any exposure a young man or young girl can get is good. In my opinion, there's no bad exposure. For me personally, showcases and stats and stuff tell a little bit about who the individual is, but it will not tell you what's between the ears. So I need to see them in a competitive standpoint, and it doesn't have to be games, but I prefer games. But practices, a lot of recruits, yeah, as you were a part of it, I would invite out to our practices because I wanted to see how they handled a little more intense in-game pressure rather than showcases. There's pressure in showcases. There's pressure to, perform in there, but at the end of the day, it's different. So stats and showcases, I think, are very great. I think they need to be. I think they're very beneficial to many individuals out there. For myself personally, I'm going to look at them that might draw my interest to see the individual or invite them to a practice. But I also will say stats and showcases aren't 100% necessary for all coaches either. And just on the opposite side of that, some coaches might strictly go after stats and showcases. So it's different. It's unique for all instances. Again, I'm going to say neither is right, wrong, and different. And that's where the adaptability I talk about as a leader comes in. Because some individuals, you got to realize they don't have opportunities for showcases. And some individuals, you got to realize that's all the opportunity they have. They don't have a lot of in-game opportunities where they could be out playing, etc. So it's different. And you got to be able to use your knowledge expertise to kind of, you know, decide what you think is the best route to bring in a player. But at the end of the day, it goes back to, in my opinion, talent will attract me, but who they are as people will seal the deal. And my grandfather, when he was, head scout and area scout, and all of his years in professional baseball, 43 years, 4 decades, over 4 decades. There's one phrase that stays with me the most, and I've kind of used it through my recruiting process the entire time. Scouts don't miss on these first round draft picks talent wise. These first rounders, they're legit. They're legit as they come. But where they miss is what's between the ears. And that's where these first rounders never make it to show. That's what separates the good from the great. We just talked about mental toughness with you. When you became a Hall of Famer, is when you took that next step mentally. Your talent didn't increase at all. You were still a heck of a ball player, but you took the next step when the mindset between the ears gained that much more. And that's where these scouts and stuff miss. And that is where I think I gain the most when I invite a kid to a practice or seeing how they talk and seeing how they initiate conversation. One thing, I don't know if I ever told you, one thing that I really impressed me with you during the recruiting process, and I knew I wanted Omar, was your initiative, your interaction with me. And it was via email mostly at the time. There wasn't a lot of, phone interaction from text messaging and phone conversations, but the initiative, the passion right there, where you already was, I was like, I can see it. I want this guy. Here's Xylee. Sorry, she wants to hop in right now. But that is, I think that is what um separates the guys we recruited here in our program, the guys that had talent, but at the end of the day, I wanted to see the mental talent, the mental toughness, probably even more than the talent. And I would trust in my skill set to develop them better as ball players rather than taking a guy that's talented and trying to change his mindset because that doesn't always happen. Clearly, these first rounders doesn't always
Mhm.
work. So
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense, and actually, it's a great message for a lot of good talents out there that are trying to make it to the next level, and
Yep.
actually, just be better. The how to be better every day, and that's what I tell my guys here in Puerto Rico. I tell them I'd rather you be a great person than a great player with a bad attitude. You
Yep.
know, and that's something
Because
that
coaches, you'll win and lose with those type of people. And that's it. Like, how do you want to be remembered? You know, you would ask your teammates, and how I remember is your charisma, your attitude. Like you were that ball player that, heck, I would, if we were the same age, I would want to play with you. Like that's how you want to be remembered. You don't, the most talented guy should, in my opinion, on your roster should also be the most well-liked guy. He should be the
Mhm.
guy that guys go to for advice and help, not the guy that just carries himself with you know, a bad
Cockiness. Yeah,
attitude. Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's so vital, and that's to be honest more important than talent.
yeah. Last question, since we're running out of time. Um,
Okay.
what does baseball is your language means to you?
Oh, it's a brotherhood. Baseball is your language. It's a brotherhood. We get each other. We understand each other. We're like-minded individuals, and like-minded individuals normally are brothers in some way, shape, or form. And we're all God's creatures, and at the end of the day, baseball is a sport that has united the world in so many different ways, no matter your nationality, your race, gender, etc. And I think that's why it's our language, because we get one another. We're very common.
Yep, definitely, definitely, and that's why we play the game we play, and we get to know a lot of people that actually become family at the end of the day, and that's great. Thank you, Coach. We're running out of time. Baseball head coach for Concordia University, and that beautiful girl.
Exactly. Yep. Say
Thank
bye-bye.
you.
Thanks, Omar. Pleasure.
See you, Coach. Thank you. Oh.